Thank you for joining us for Indianapolis this week. You can join us right now online. Log into our Twitter account and follow us at Indy This Week. We begin with that key election for mayor in Indianapolis. Polls will open in less than 48 hours from right now. The candidates for mayor of Indianapolis making their final pitches for their plans for public safety this week amid the wave of violence that has hit our city. That includes the robberies of well-known restaurants and the shooting of 3 people at Washington Square Mall on the city's east side. Both candidates calling for adding 150 new officers to city streets. Republican Chuck Brewer says he also wants to double the number of Metro police officers assigned to drug interdiction efforts. And he says he plans to ask state lawmakers to pass tougher mandatory minimum sentences for gun crimes. Now, Joe Hawk said is pushing for the creation of a special police unit focused on domestic violence. He says he'd like to create programs aimed at targeting illegal gun trafficking and helping those leaving prison with re-entry programs into the community.
I will be the kind of leader on the front lines, exactly where you would expect a Marine to be. These violent gangs will not control our neighborhoods, and they will not instill fear in our families.
I've worked with federal, state, and local officials, and I've also gained the trust of the law enforcement community here in the city of Indianapolis. I think those are important considerations for the voters.
We're also watching the key city-county council races. The council will be reduced from 29 to 25 seats with the elimination of 4 at-large councilors. The current makeup of that council, 15 to 14 Democrat. Now, last week we had the candidates right here. This week, the chairman of the county parties. We start with Kyle Walker, chairman of the Marion County Republican Party. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
On the mayor's race, on the council's races, demographics are not on your side, but the electorate in Marion County has shown an independent streak to go however it feels like going. Are you counting on that?
Well, the electorate certainly appreciates a positive vision for the city of Indianapolis. We're very optimistic that voters appreciate the direction that Republicans have taken them under Mayor Greg Ballard over the last 8 years, and will continue to do so. And again, we think we have a better message to tell, and a message that has been resonating better with voters throughout the county, including the council districts.
So at the mayor's race, do you have a shot to take that seat on Tuesday?
We know that it's an uphill battle, but this is all going to be affected largely by turnout. We have a lot of optimism. A lot of our voters have shown incredible interest in our candidate, future Mayor Chuck Brewer, and we're excited about Tuesday.
Turnout has been abysmal in Marion County. Turnout has been abysmal in all of Indiana. How much are you really counting on people to actually show any interest come Tuesday to come out and vote for somebody?
Well, turnout is certainly an issue, and the Democrats have done their best to make it difficult to vote absentee. We just heard reports earlier or late last week that some of the folks that had filed for absentee ballots had not yet received them, even though they'd applied for them weeks before. So they're doing their best, but we are redoubling our efforts from the Marion County Republican standpoint, calling voters, going door to door. We've knocked on thousands and thousands of doors, and so we're hopeful that we'll have a good turnout on Election Day.
Mayor Ballard chose not to seek a third term, but did he wait too long to start the ad campaign, to spending the millions of dollars that it would really take to win the seat, to help out his candidate, Chuck Brewer?
No, I think that it was the right timing for the mayor, and he showed that well, I should back up. I should say that it's the right timing because he is talking to voters right at the time when they're paying the most attention. And, with, again, $4 million being spent by the other side, the messaging has been a little bit diluted over the last several months. But right now, folks are paying attention, and Mayor Greg Ballard has picked the perfect time to show his support for Chuck Brewer.
Is Chuck Brewer, well, the public safety issue, because on the other side, Joe Hawk said has been able to claim that the mantra. As you know, in the city, we're dealing with a lot of crime issues and violence. Can Chuck Brewer counter that? That seems to be topic number one in the minds of voters. So is he the guy that can really handle that issue?
Absolutely. Chuck Brewer is the only one who's actually carried a weapon in defense of security. And, you know, he's a 23-year Marine veteran. He has a lot of experience with real-time intelligence, which is part of his public safety platform. Conversely, Joe Hogsett has a very sketchy record at best with public safety. His sentencing record as U.S. attorney was much lower than the prior U.S. attorneys, and so I think that Chuck Brewer has a very compelling message to tell about public safety, and he is telling that message.
The job for the mayor becomes much easier if his city-county council is of the same party.
Sure.
Can you retake the council?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The city-county council races are largely focused on issues that daily affect voters, and so we're talking about public
it's gotten really
safety.
ugly, right? I mean, on both sides, it's gotten ugly.
Well, we've run largely positive campaigns through all of our city-county councilors, and there have been attacks, particularly on folks like Jeff Miller and Ben Hunter, who even the newspaper columnists have said that they were outright lies, and they certainly. We understand that that's part of politics, but our candidates are focused on the positive vision and on the optimistic view that they can make Indianapolis a better place. And all of our incumbents have seen the value of their work in things like Rebuild Indy and increased public safety spending, and so they plan to continue that moving forward.
Kyle Walker, thank you so much, and best of luck on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. When we come back, we welcome in the head of the Marion County Democratic Party. Is he confident in a Joe Hogsett win on Tuesday? You're watching Indianapolis This Week on RTV6. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week as we continue our discussion about the election just 2 days away. We turn our attention now to the Marion County Democratic Party Chairman, Joel Miller. He's now with our Jason Fechter. Jason?
We're joined this morning by Marion County Democratic Chair Joel Miller. Joel, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Big run up to the election day, and let's start with the mayor's race. Can Joe Hogsett start celebrating already?
No candidate celebrates before Election Day, and there's a lot of work to be done between now and Election Day. So we're really hitting our stride and doing everything we can to get every last voter out to the polls.
You've known Joe for a long time, the job that he has done so far as a candidate in this race.
There's never a question about the job that Joe Hogsett can do as a candidate. I've known Joe Hogsett since I was in high school, and everything he does, he runs hard. And whether it's business or life or campaigns, he does it turns it up to 11 for everything he does.
What's the main issue that voters have been talking about so far this year?
I think public safety. It's what I hear most. It's what our candidates hear most. And I think it's what people are really tuned into, especially with what happened last night in Indianapolis. People want to feel safe in their homes.
You have been critical before of Mayor Greg Ballard when it comes to violence in the city of Indianapolis. Your view of the job that you think he has done during his time in office?
I think that Mayor Ballard has had a lot of message about crime and a lot of rhetoric about crime, but there is no proof in the pudding that things are getting better. And I think people in the city are looking for a new direction to really help us get out of this violent crime wave.
How would a race between Hogsett and Ballard looked any different than the one between Hogsett and Brewer?
Would have been a lot more expensive, I know that, and I think that the issues would have been probably the same, because I don't think that the candidates determine the issues that voters are concerned about, and elections are about voters more than they are the candidates.
So Joe would have run the same campaign against Mayor Ballard?
Absolutely. I think that, like I said, when Joe Hogsett does something, he turns it up to 11 no matter the opponent.
Let's talk about the council now, going from 29 seats down to 25 right now. Democrats with the majority control there 15 to 14. That could get shaken up.
I think that we're in good shape to maintain a majority on the council. I think even when the Republicans gerrymandered to try to take over the council, that they just weren't effective in being able to draw districts that are majority Republican. And frankly, this city is not majority Republican. And I feel good that our candidates have gone out and done the work. They've knocked on thousands of doors and have communicated directly with thousands of voters. So I feel good that we'll have a majority on election night.
If Hogsett wins on Election Day, how important is having Democratic control in the council for him?
I think it's a huge difference maker. I think that for Joe to be able to quickly and efficiently get the things done that he sees as a vision for the city of Indianapolis, that we see as our vision for the city of Indianapolis, to have teammates working together to do that, it makes all the difference in the world.
Let's go behind the scenes now before Election Day. Are there any concerns about voter turnout right now, and what's happening behind the scenes to get those Democrats to the polls?
Well, there's always concerns on the Democratic side about voter turnout. The fact of the matter is, as far as how elections are operated, is in the Democratic side, we do everything we can to turn out as many voters as possible, and my friends on the Republican side typically try to keep as many people from voting as they can. So we do everything we can. We're hitting doors. We're making thousands of volunteer phone calls right now. We have phone banks running, I can't say around the clock, but every day, reaching out to voters, making sure they know there's an election, and doing everything we can to get them out to vote.
As we have been looking ahead to 2016, here's a question for you. Are you already looking ahead to 2016, or are you simply focused on this election?
As the chairman, I have to focus on this election, but you'd be foolish to not prepare for everything after that. So I think that 2016 is a big election. In our role at the county party, we have to worry about our legislative races and do everything we can to make sure that we maximize our vote for the legislative candidates, and then look to that governor's race as well. So we are planning to be effective in 2016, but we're focused on this election.
Democratic Party Chairman Joel Miller, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Raphael?
Jason, thank you so much. And a reminder that we spoke with Joe Hogsett and Chuck Brewer last week right here on Indianapolis This Week. You can see those interviews online. Look for the Indianapolis This Week video section on our website, theindychannel.com. It's a major announcement from Governor Pence, one affecting thousands of teachers in Indiana. So what is the real impact of his move on I-STEP scores? What we have to say about that and our insiders next. You're watching Indianapolis This Week on RTV6. An extraordinary week just wrapping up involving your child's school and Indiana teachers. Governor Pence announcing a shift as it relates to evaluating teachers, and the State Board of Education bracing for significantly lower scores on I-STEP. State House reporter Katie Hines explains.
In a one-on-one conversation with me, Governor Pence is defending the I-STEP Plus exam after announcing that last spring's scores won't negatively impact teacher evaluations or bonus pay. He tells us he's proud that Indiana raised its standards, and he says other states that have changed their standards have experienced bigger declines in test scores than Indiana. Pence contends the announcement doesn't constitute a pause in accountability, but he says he plans to work with leaders in the General Assembly to adjust A-through-F accountability in this first year of the test.
You're always going to have bumps along the way when you have high standards, when you introduce new assessments. But I'm very confident that the policies we've been advancing in the state of Indiana of high expectations and accountability are working.
We have yet to hear the details of the legislation Governor Pence is directing Republicans in the House and Senate to draft, but we're told the goal is to quickly move a bill regarding teacher pay and evaluations during the first few weeks of the session. In the meantime, the Indiana Department of Education is calling the governor's move and announcement a welcome step. It says the teachers in schools, school leaders have all been put through 18 months of what they call unnecessary uncertainty. Raphael.
Thank you, Katie, for your insight. Let's bring in our political insiders. They're ready to talk. Democrat Laura Beck, Republican Jennifer Hollowell. Teachers Union has not been a major fan of this governor. So has the governor's decision to make a concession on the I-STEP scores and teacher evaluations, is that pandering or is that good public policy?
Well, I mean, it's certainly good public policy. And, you know, what we've seen happen, we've raised the standards. And so with the test scores, some people had anticipated that they were going to be lower. What the governor's done is said, we want to have accountability, but we also want to have fairness. And so we're not going to, you know, punish teachers for the outcome of these scores that are lower than what we would hope.
I don't think that Governor Pence is pandering at all to the teachers union. I don't think the teachers union really enters into any of his thoughts or consideration. But I do think that he's probably polling and testing and realizes that this is an issue that is still top of mind to Hoosiers. But it also speaks to me a little bit larger about his governing style. There's a problem, and Governor Pence will go on for months and say there's not a problem. I mean, we saw it with NDOT, we saw it with RFRA, and then all of a sudden he comes out and makes a big statement and saying, oh, actually, here's my solution to fix the problem. And so I think it speaks to a larger issue of his governing style, because it just seems like it's something he's been denying and saying it hasn't been the case.
Democrats wanted to not count the scores and throw it all out before they even took the test. And what the governor's approach was, let's go through the process. Let's take the test. Let's see what the results are, and then let's make decisions based on that. Let's not send a message that we're just going to not count things. I mean, what kind of message does that send to teachers and students? Here's a test, but it's not going to count, so, you know, don't worry about it. I mean, essentially what we're doing now is kind of putting it on a curve, and then that's going to set the stage for future tests.
I think they're probably doing tracking polls, and I think they know that this is a problem for them, and I think they know they got to fix it. And so I think that's where this is coming from.
I don't think it has anything to do with polling
I don't
or
think
politics.
I don't think he's doing well on this one.
This is just a common sense approach to the situation.
Let's head to the ballot box. Tuesday, we have a race for mayor of Indianapolis and other municipal races around the state. Is anyone paying attention? Are we going to see the worst turnout in Indiana history? I mean, do people even care that they should go out and vote for somebody?
Well, I think people care.
Do they?
I think they do. I don't know,
think
though,
so.
if people really do know.
I see those numbers. I don't see anyone voting for one or the other. Do they care?
I think people do care, but I think that, unfortunately, people don't always come out and vote. And really, even though there have been ads, there have been mailers, our parties are working very hard to get people out to the polls to vote. I think that it's unfortunate that people aren't more invested in in the civic process and in governing, because especially on these municipal elections, it's really where the rubber meets the road, and it's really incredibly important.
Do you think people care?
Well, I think that we will see low voter turnout. We're already seeing that in the absentee results across the state, by the way, not just in Indianapolis. I do think, as some have said, that some of the low turnout that we've seen in Indianapolis may be because voters are pretty comfortable with the situation. Mayor Ballard has done a good job. People are generally happy with the direction that the city's going in, and they aren't mad and you know, being fired up to go out and vote because they're mad at someone. And so we have to just inspire them to vote, you know, because it's their right, it's their responsibility, and there are important choices.
So if people are fat and happy or skinny and happy, does that mean Chuck Brewer wins a third term? Does he? Is he?
You're asking if he becomes the extension of Mayor Ballard.
Does he?
I don't think I'm really the best person to answer that question. I think that Joe Hogsett is probably going to win, barring any unfortunate episode that might occur over the weekend. But I think he probably will be. I think what we probably all will be watching very closely on election night are those city county council races, and I think we'll also be looking at some of the mayor's races outside of Indianapolis and in the excluded cities. We've got Beech Grove, we've got Lawrence coming up, so I think we will be looking at some of those as well.
Demographics is not on your side as a Republican.
That's right.
But can you take back the council? Can you win the mayor's race?
Well, I absolutely think we have a shot at both, and turnout is going to be a huge factor. And in council races, we have some amazing Republican councilors and candidates for council who I think that we're going to see come on board and be victorious on Tuesday. And for our incumbents, it's because they've done a great job. They've addressed the concerns of their citizens. They're involved. They're engaged, and it's, you know, they're the kind of servant leaders that people want to have. And so I feel very confident about our chances of getting a majority on the council.
Let's turn now to the race for the White House and that third Republican debate this week on CNBC.
We are on the verge, perhaps, of picking someone who cannot do this job.
And his poll numbers tanked. That's why he's on the end. And he got nasty. So you know what? You can have him.
When you signed up for this was a 6-year term, and you should be showing up to work.
Someone has convinced you that attacking me is going to help you.
We have $19 trillion in debt. We have people out of work. We have ISIS and Al-Qaeda attacking us. And we're talking about fantasy football? Can we stop?
So who was the winner, who was the loser, who were the winners and losers of this third debate?
I think Marco Rubio was really the standout in this week's debate, and he's someone who has been consistently impressive, I would say, throughout this process, and he really shined this week in the debate. I'll say, as I have said before on this show, I wish we had fewer people on that stage. We really need to start narrowing this down among the real contenders and not folks who at the end of the day are just never going to get enough votes.
What did you say as being the one that you would not want to be in the general election?
Well, I mean, It depends.
Based on what?
It
Who do you want
depends
your
on
opponent to be?
Yeah, exactly. It depends on who we want our opponent to be. I agree. I think that Marco Rubio was really strong. I think he connects with people. But what I think is interesting about the debates is that, and Abdul and I have talked about this a little bit, is Jeb Bush, who is probably very qualified, has the right demeanor for it, but he doesn't have the right demeanor for a primary campaign like this. And so he just looks a little befuddled and out of place up there, when really he probably is the most presidential out of all of them.
The debate will continue.
Incredibly qualified.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And we'll see what the voters have to say. We'll see what happens if more people keep adding on or keep falling away. Our debate continues on social media, including our official web account at Indy This Week. Make sure to follow us for news and updates every day of the week. You're watching Indianapolis This Week on RTV6. This Week team is your best place for Central Indiana's best election night coverage on Tuesday. Our coverage begins at 5 p.m. We'll also have special live election coverage starting at 7:30 on the RTV6 app and HTSN, plus full reaction and analysis on the news at 11. And this reminder, the Colts are in action tomorrow on Monday Night Football, and RTV6 is your place to watch the game live. Right here, RTV6. Our live coverage starts with the Now Indy at 4, including our special countdown to kickoff at 7:30 with Dave First and Michael Grady live from Charlotte. Monday Night Football team takes over at 8:15, and then stay with us right after the game for live reaction from the Colts on the news at 11. That is all for this Sunday. Remember, you can find all of the Indianapolis This Week editions online on our website at theindychannel.com. For Katie, Jason, and the entire RTV6 News team, have a great Sunday, and go Colts.